Hello YouTube friends, Dr. T here again. I mentioned in a couple other videos that I thought that the decapsulated brine shrimp was contaminating or polluting the seahorse tank, the dwarf seahorse tank, and that's why I was having trouble keeping the water parameters within acceptable ranges. So what I did is I just hatched out a tiny bit of brine shrimp, and here's the little aquarium that I used. And I'm going to add an extra step and then also experiment in a different way with how I'm storing and keeping the brine shrimp, the newly hatched brine shrimp. I'm going to move the aquarium out of the way, the one that I use for normal hatching. And if we can see in here, it's a little hard to see, but I believe we have some live brine shrimp hatched in there, swimming around. Yeah, it's really hard to see, but there is some live brine shrimp in there swimming around. But look how cloudy that water is, and that's what's making me think that some of the organisms, the brine shrimp, are not fully hatching, or they're not activated for whatever reason in the hatcher, and when they're in the tank they may be starting to hatch, and that's creating pollution. So let me move this out of the way. What I'm going to do is give the shrimp an opportunity to get itself cleaned off. So I have here, it's called a shrimpery. It's basically a black box with a lid, a plastic container, and a white cap that goes on here. And I'm going to fill this up to the line. It's a little bit hard to see, but there's a line here, which is the recommended top fill line, and it does need to be pretty close to that line, otherwise it's not going to function. So I have some prepared synthetic seawater here. I am pouring it in. Ooh, and it's almost exactly enough to the line. Actually, it could use a tad bit more, but it's okay if I add a little bit of fresh water to it. It's not going to make a difference. Just to top it off here. Okay, there, that's pretty good. It's pretty close to the line now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shrimp that are in the hatcher. I'm going to pour it through my sieve. And I'm going to rinse very well. I should have found a little bit more salt water here. In fact, I'll use a little bit more of the fresh water just to get the shrimp out of here. They're going to go into this black box. There we go. Got it. Probably a little bit too high right now, so I'm going to use my hose here just to take out a little bit of water. There we go. That's probably good. Otherwise it overflows. So basically the idea is the shrimp that are hatched are going to swim up into this tube. So I put this top on, and the way it fits, let me see if I can do an overhead picture here. You can see there's a hole in it, and that plastic cup is going to just sit in there. So let me get that position. And you're supposed to fill the black cup with just regular fresh water. No need to dechlorinate it or anything like that. And what happens is, when you flip this over, it sits in here in such a way that the fresh water makes contact with the salt water below, and because because the brine shrimp are attracted to light, they're going to start swimming up through the little hole where they see light coming in. Let's see if we see any. We'll check back on that in a minute. But as they come up, you have to make sure you get all the bubbles out. I think I do. We'll check in a minute to see if they swim up. I'm just making sure the bubbles are out here. I think they are. Okay. What I plan to do is change a little bit my situation. I was keeping the brine in the refrigerator, but adult seahorses can actually eat fully grown Artemia. So I was thinking I'm going to go ahead and put the brine shrimp that comes into this cup here and put them in this vessel made of glass, and then use a lid from one of my small aquariums, put that on top, and put the airline hose in there and hook it up to a pump, let it aerate, and then I'll make my own mixture that I demonstrated in another video of my own green water using some of the products that I have. And I'll also add some Celcon to it too. And I'll keep this in a cool place bubbling, and basically I'll just keep adding new brine shrimp to this vessel every time I hatch out, and then probably once a week I'll just exchange the water and strain the shrimp and add them back into some fresh water, just so that there isn't a big buildup of bacteria. So I want to see if that works better for me as far as deleting or removing some of that pollution that's happening in the aquarium. So I'm going to move this, and let's see if we see anything swimming up. It's a little hard to see in the video. Oh yeah, you can see one swimming around. Oh, there are a couple swimming around. Try to hold the camera a little bit more still. So it is doing what it's supposed to do, but when it swims up like this, I know that these brine shrimp are alive, so I won't be adding any deceased ones or non-hatched ones to my culture. Also, according to the instructions on this device, letting the brine shrimp swim into the fresh water gives them an extra rinse and removes contaminants from them. I don't know how true or accurate that is, but anyway, I'm going to give it a try. If this works, I'll probably do a combination of using the decapsulated brine shrimp with the shell on brine shrimp, because if I have to go through this extra stage anyway for the hatching, I don't think it's going to matter if I use the decapsulated or the shell on. So in about an hour, this is going to be pretty full, and I'll be able to start populating my culture of brine shrimp that I'm going to be making as I just described it. And I think this is going to be pretty successful, and it's going to set me up very well, not only for keeping the pollutants down in the aquarium, but also getting a nice culture going so that if I do take a vacation, that people can very easily just pull out some brine shrimp to feed the seahorses while I'm gone. Well, as always, thanks for joining me. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and I will see you next time.